Now I have the power. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at these big honking boxes that are the McFarlane Toys Kickstarter Spawns. Yep, I finally got mine last week. I think McFarlane has addressed this several times. The shipping on these are incredibly slow. I don't know what the holdup is. I haven't really paid attention. Whenever I do something like this, like a Kickstarter or a pre-order that's way the hell out there, I tend to forget about it. I just put it out of my mind. In fact, when I got the box, I couldn't remember what I ordered. I don't know why I didn't get the artist proof one, because I love figures like that. 2020 Robo. Who knows what that guy was doing. Looking at the package, as you can see, it's just a big clean box. I've already gotten it all dirty. The classic is red, and it goes down to this shiny, sparkly one at the bottom. And that's the same for the green one. Green, 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 green. Shiny. On the side, nothing. Until you get down to here, 1994 to 2021. On the back, and then on the other side, big honkin' Spawn logos. So elegant, so fancy. But these are just slip covers that open up to essentially more black box. But there is a Spawn logo in glossy black. It's down there too. And on top, not a toy. Not unless your kids are on Kickstarter ordering big, fancy, expensive toys. Pull the pull tab. It opens the lid, of course. Certificate of authenticity. You get a checklist of what the original Spawn had as far as articulation goes, like the head, the shoulders. No, yes. No, yes. What it's essentially saying is the remastered 2021 Spawn, what, is so much better. Foam insert, the figure underneath. Some of the extra accessories are up here in this foam cutout. Extra head. There's the figure itself, and oh man, I kind of hate to even open this. I like the presentation, this throwback look. And then for the modern Spawn, green pull tab. Oh, different cutouts with different weapons. It's been a while since the Kickstarter and I can't keep track of what we were supposed to get with what. Extra head, that is, oh, that's cool. The whole insert comes up and out. And then you're left with just this big plastic clamshell. Feels huge. And then there's a look at the classic one with all kinds of light shining and reflecting off of it. But unlike those old clamshells, well, I don't know if Spawn you could just open, but Marvel Legends, remember those? You had to get out a hacksaw and a blowtorch and... But these just pop open. They are resealable. Pop the back off. You have the comics sitting back there. I was about to say, well, I didn't want to go tearing off the back, but even that you can pull out from the top right here. There you go. You can put everything right back where it was. Oh, it's a director's cut. I was going to say that out loud, and then I read the top of it, and it is a director's cut. Oh, yeah. Easy. And then the figure slips right out. And even that has a cover over it to keep it from jostling around inside the clamshell. And then, of course, Modern has, well, it has different accessories or lack of. And it also has a different comic behind it. Again, with the green logo, Classic has red. Ooh, so much plastic and shell. Also comes with a stand. It has the Spawn logo tampoed on it. Record-setting action figure. Okay, getting them out of the package and messing around with them for a bit, there is definitely a cool factor, but oh, some things just lessen the fun factor. I think that was the intention of this all along. You know what I mean? Looking at the Classic first, something that was never in doubt was the sculpt itself. This was always going to be a kick-ass looking Spawn. The musculature underneath is very lithe but powerful. It's got a thinness to it, but then you wouldn't want this guy to punch you in the face. But something we don't see with a lot of other lines is the costume details sculpted on top of that. There's a raised edge for this design work coming up and then down under the arm. Same thing for it coming down the side of the arm, around the gloves, even up there on the glove. It gets a bit, and I hate to say this is not a negative, but it gets more boring as you go down the legs, but that was always the design of the Classic Spawn. There is pouches here because, well, you know, 90s. And then down around the calves are the spikes. I like the asymmetry of it though. The pouches only over here, double bands over here. Kind of a sock look. You can see the sculpt of toes under there. You also get an asymmetry with the spiked band only on the right bicep. Some spikes on the knuckle dusters because it just makes them hit that much harder. Have the Spawn skull belt buckle with a real metal ring hanging through it. And then of course the metal chains hanging around. Those are a bit bulky. They seem large for this scale. It's dragging them down always. He's trying to do right. These chains are pulling them back. Then you also have the skull for the cape clasps, another real metal chain in between that, smaller links than down here, which I feel like that works. Up at the head, again, those piercing green eyes that we saw with the Mortal Kombat figure, it's just that color. I guess it's against this kind of dirty red, white, black color scheme. These just stand out. They're almost glow in the dark, but it's more reflecting light. Plus it isn't dark. I guess that's a factor. And then again, for the costume design, all raised edges all the way around. Even though it's only like 3 colors for the whole costume, the white and the reds have this dirtiness to them. They came in and shaded the musculature. Just a little extra emphasis on the crevices in places. The silver to the spikes, the gold for these buttons on the pouches, always my favorite detail. It has a very Spawn in the 90s feel, because that's some old school painting there. But then on the modern figure, it reuses a lot of that same body, but you have this big chunky arm gauntlet on the right arm. The randomness of the spikes just completely works right here. Same arm, same torso, same crotch, same right leg all the way down, same leg on the left until we get to, oh well, you've already seen it, right? The big boot. How this works in real life, I don't know, and it's Spawn, so I don't care. It's just part of the design. But up at the head for the modern one, you still have those green piercing eyes, but the mask is off, and it's showing where he's had his face split open, sewn back together. It's that decayed look. Gross, but so awesome. Let's get some more light on this side. Look at that. Oh, just the paint and to tie it all together, as in the comics, to add so much movement to it is the cape. Just a beautiful sculpt overall. You have these deep, deep folds coming in here, adding so much contrast. Even in my bright lights pointing from everywhere, I'm still fighting it to get it out of shadows in some places. Nice texture, giving that a cloth look, giving it a different look from the rest of the figure. The big collar swooping up and around like it's in the wind, or like it's doing its own thing. And then on the back, just more of those heavy creases and wrinkles. More shade work in places, again, very 90s with the almost airbrush quality to it, just pshh. But that does add to the unfun factor of it because it's a very hard candy shell. It ain't bending except where they want it to, where they put the 2 hinges on the sides. And with that, you can go back and fold this side of the cape around a little bit if you want to put them against a wall or something. It does come forward to about right there. On the other side, it does go back, but it does come forward in front of the figure a bit too. So you can get that kind of engulfed in capeness look. It does come down to about foot level though, so it really helps with the stand department. That foot's even off the ground a bit. Move it around and shift it. Yeah, this thing isn't falling over backwards. Go down, go down, go down, 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 down. Another factor that makes it uncomfortable and hard to mess around with, all the sculpting is very hard plastic. That includes the very sharp spikes here and here and around the knuckles, around the bicep, especially here. You're trying to get it around and you're not thinking about it like you do most action figures. Here, you really have to think about it because it's almost like grabbing a barbed wire fence. You get a hold of it wrong, it's going to get a hold of you. Not so bad on the classic version because, well, more smoothness, but enough to bite you if you're not being careful. Another big thing during the Kickstarter was the articulation. I am 99.9% sure that Todd did not want to put this much articulation into it from the get-go. Even when it was shown at Toy Fair, it was mostly statue, like the original figure. But the fans wanted articulation. They actually listened, put in a lot of articulation, but not all of it. You know what? It's kind of weird. The arms have a single elbow, so it only comes up to about right there. It's pinned up into the shoulder, so the bicep itself is kind of a floating piece that covers it. So it's kind of odd, but you can work with it. Biggie for a lot of people is the lack of a torso joint. There is a ball at the waist, but it's perma-sculpted to be shifted over this way and up. So there's always a lean to it. There's always kind of a sense of motion there, which I feel like is a very Todd thing to do. And then the neck has a ball joint at the bottom where it kind of merges into the torso, but the bottom of the neck piece is sculpted to only look good in one position. You try to turn it and you get all gappy with it. Fortunately, the classic also has a ball joint up at the top of the neck going into the skull, so you can kind of fake it, move the head that way, and it still looks pretty good at the base. Not so much for the modern. There's no upper neck joint. There's only the bottom, so you try to turn it, it gets weird. You see a lot of the unpainted plastic underneath. Then you get below the waist and it has all the articulation you could have asked for. Well, on the modern, on the big boot, that's kind of hindered, of course. I truly think that this is meant for one pose, put it in position, be pretty on the shelf. Going over articulation the best I can with this big heavy ass cape hanging off the back, which again is hinged on the outside. There's a ball joint going up into the skull and then a ball joint at the bottom of the neck. Together looks up, looks down. Gotta admit, there's quite a bit of tilt until you hit the collar. The shoulder comes up to about right there. Unfortunately, even the cape coming over the shoulders is tough as hell. Rotates up until you hit that point. Oh, you know what? That may be a dumbbell joint in there. I'm getting kind of forward and back. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, but again, the bicep is a cover piece. So when you turn it, you can turn with it. Elbow goes close to 90. Hinge at the wrist, which again skews away from the usual McFarlane swivel hinge swivel. This looks okay. It looks a bit odd. It fits. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It's kind of ugly, but I'm kind of okay with it being ugly. That gives you hinge all the way and then swivel. Excellent range at the ball joint in the waist. The crotch is a rubbery piece, so the hinge coming out to the leg, or well, I guess the peg or something coming out, does allow the leg to come up that far. Goes back, goes, look at that, goes out. I'm grapping about articulation, and that's better than Spider-Man. A little rotation at the top, but they also added a swivel below the pouches, just on this side. They didn't do that on the left, it would have broke the sculpt. Again, very taut. Double knee comes up. Oh, so close. Can't help the spike hitting the pouch right there. Swivel at the calf below that band. It's over here too. Ankle hinges back, hinges forward, and then a forward-facing pin for rock or ankle. For accessories in the package, both spawns come with splayed open ugly hands. Comes with 2 trigger finger hands or gripping, and then comes with 2 tight closed grip hands. And now that I've got to this part, I realize why they went with this hinge instead of what we've seen on other McFarlane figures. It's so you can pop it out. Well, they've done swappable hands before. What am I talking about? Pretty easy to pop in and out. They both come with this green kind of shooting out claw energy effect. And you can see the grip right there on the end of it. It's such a simple thing, but look how it wraps around the hand right there. That's just cool. Plug right in. Both figures come with this green translucent dagger. I'm guessing this is made out of his power juice stuff. What is that called? Is protoplasm? Is ectoplasm? Something. Easy enough. Throw in a grip hand. Done. The classic Spawn also comes with this machine gun. You have the scope, and then that, and grenade launcher and blade. Some gray paint apps, but it's mostly black plastic. Like the spikes all over the body, not the softest material. Also sharp on the fingers. It can be, but if you turn sideways like this, get it down in there, rotate onto the trigger finger, not bad. Even that's not shabby. Modern Spawn comes with this heavier looking gun. It's a bit thicker. It has this rocket on top that has been bent. I don't want to push it too far. I may try to heat that later and then cool it down in position, but right now it keeps returning to this position. Have the grip on the front, the drum, and the Modern doesn't have much problem holding this either. Big honking sword for classic Spawn. Have the Spawn skull. Works into this very intricate design going up to the Spawn logo on the end. Again, you can get it into position. You're gonna get some pokey in your fingies, but yeah. For the classic Spawn, there's this alternate head with no mask. Again, you see all the gruesomeness of the head underneath. He's screaming into the night. But for the Modern Spawn, you have an alternate Al Simmons head. And I really, really like the look of this. Beautiful skin tones and the green glowing eyes. You just have a ball joint at the bottom. The Al Simmons head is kind of like the classic, to where the base is sculpted to fit just one point of the torso, but there's a ball joint at the top of the neck. So you can kind of fudge it around, have them looking in different directions without breaking it up too much. But the alternate classic head is sculpted into position, so it's pretty much stuck right there. Did that with both gross heads. I guess they didn't want to break up the... I don't know. Also, swapping hands on the Modern can be a pain in the ass. The gauntlet comes down and hooks around, and well, that's semi-soft. It still gets in the way. Both Spawns, mostly the same figure. Both of them stand at about 7 3/16 to the top of their head, and then about 8 1/4 to the very highest point of the cape. Oh, which does put it at almost the exact same size as the McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. Scales nice with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Wave 1 Superman and then White Knight Batman. Little large for your NECA DC superheroes, but towers over your Mayfix. Same thing goes for Marvel Legends. Essentially, 7-inch scale. It's gonna be bigger. So at the end of the day, this is more of a novelty item. Don't get me wrong, you can get your poses and your action scenes and move things around and swap out accessories, but it's more for getting into that position and leaving it there. I don't feel like this is a grab it off the shelf or grab it off the desk and mess around with it figure. It's meant to just look good. You know, McFarlane's mantra throughout all these years, it's just gonna look good. And if it happens to move good, then even better. But the way this whole thing came about with the Kickstarter and all the media and announcements and, oh, we broke these records, again, it's just a novelty. It's just, hey, get it out in the public eye. Here's some Spawn figures. We're going to give you some of the articulation you wanted. Well, most of the articulation you wanted. But we're still going to make it as close to an homage to that original figure as we can, even with that articulation, even if we have to take some of it out. It's just a weird thing. I like the look of these when I get them into a spot, but I do not like messing with them. I'm especially happy to have the classic because I didn't have that in plastic form anywhere in my collection. So I may leave classic Spawn on the shelf or standing somewhere on display. The modern may go back in the package and hung on the wall, since I have this, which to me is more fun to play with. It has more articulation, you can get more poses. If you're looking for a modern, spend 20 bucks, 25, get one of these. If you want a classic, wait for the eventual one in the line that's coming. If you want these, grab them before the price shoots up, because as this Kickstarter gets further and further away, I have a feeling these will go up and up in price, and you don't want to get caught, oh, I had to pay $200 for this. But if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. And I'm not bagging on the figures, but I'm also not really throwing a lot of praise. It's kind of a weird, they're here. Yay. So I'll do what I want to do with them until something else comes along, you know? And then they may get packed up or thrown on the wall, pinned somewhere, or in a tub. Who knows?